Workers over at REI are attempting to unionize, and the CEO is not too happy about it. Now, this is a common story, especially when it comes to any labor-related issue. But what made this one stand out is how Eric Artz, who is the CEO of REI, decided to co-opt the kind of language that you would hear from, let's say, corporate Democrats, meant to give you the illusion of progressivism, when in reality, what they really represent is anything but. So let's listen.
For those of you who I have not had the chance to meet, I use he, him pronouns, and I'm speaking to you today from the traditional lands of the Coast Salish peoples. So when people ask, why don't we support unions? My answer is simple. We do not oppose unions. It's that we don't believe, I do not believe, that introducing a union is the right thing for REI.
So again, let's start this off by giving a nod to indigenous people, mentioning my pronouns. Now I'm gonna tell you why I'm gonna crush your efforts or attempt to crush your efforts to unionize. And it's just, listen, I obviously do not have a problem with people announcing their pronouns. That's not what this is about. However, I do have a problem with the theater and the optics that get used by the very people who have no interest in providing real equality for people, economic opportunity for people, a better working place for people in the context of Congress. I mean, the example I love to give is the goofy theater of members of Congress kneeling, Democrats specifically, kneeling wearing kente cloths, and then doing nothing about police reform. That was following the George Floyd murder, by the way.
Yeah, I think this issue is actually complicated, but I 100% agree that the theater is what drives me nuts. My pronouns are he, him. Who asked you, dude? In this context, why are you telling me that? And I'll go further than that. And they go ahead, get angry and all that stuff. If Anna starts with my pronouns are he, him, that's relevant, and you respect that, right? If I start with it, you go, why are you randomly bringing that up now, right? When we're talking about a union drive, why are you telling me your pronouns? It's so I know some people just do it regularly. They do it in every conversation. I'm gonna have a blue cheese salad and I'm he, him. Okay, but it's not for me. I'm too old school, right? It doesn't mean you have to be a weirdo right winger and be like, no, I don't respect your choices, and no, I don't respect your gender. No, I deeply respect it, and I'm happy to give you any pronouns you like. But why are you saying it in this context? And why are you telling me you're on Native American land? What does that have to do with any of this?
Yeah, exactly.
Because what he's trying to do is theater.
Make
right?
you think he's a good guy.
Yes.
I'm a good guy. I believe in progressive values. Like, don't be mad at me. I'm just gonna crush your efforts to unionize. Like, that's the thing. Like, the juxtaposition is important here. It's like a perfect illustration of what you see in so many other issues. Okay, not just in the context of a company attempting to unionize, but also more importantly, what you see in Congress more than any other place on the planet.
Yeah, and so look, the reason why I say it's complicated is because on the actual substance of the issue, I don't necessarily agree that he's looking to crush the union, right? So he doesn't agree with the union at his workplace. He's the CEO. I think he has every right to make his case, okay? And it's a co-op, and it's generally more left wing, but in a real substantive way, not just the he, him, Native American lands way, right? Not the theatrics, but there's real, substance behind it at that particular workplace. Okay, now, and by the way,
hold on. You called it a co-op. I think we need to be very clear about what that means, because he doesn't refer to it as like a workers co-op. It's a consumer co-op, and I don't know what that means. Like, what is a consumer co-op?
See, all of this is relevant, right?
Sure.
And you should discuss all of that. In fact, that leads me to the other point I was going to say. So when I heard what he was saying, and I listened to it, right, and I give everybody a fair hearing. I thought is going in when he was first talking about, how good a place it is to work, et cetera, and that might be true, I don't know, right? Then he made it seem like, it's this little operation that they've got going, and to me that makes sense, because sometimes size matters in terms of, are you ready for a union or not ready for a union, et cetera. So I looked it up. Their revenue last year, I'm not talking about their overall worth, just their revenue just last year. 2.75 billion. It's not a little operation. So That's why, like, if he made, to me, I'd be super fair about it. If he made a real case saying, hey, look, this is why I don't think the union is right for us. Okay, it is what it is, and we can disagree with that. We might agree with that. But when you come in with the theatrics, and then you just, oh shucks, I'm the little guy, and you're making billions of dollars, don't tell me you can't afford it.
Yeah, exactly, 100%. So just to give you his statement, REI is proud of its progressive policy. The retailer of outdoor clothing and equipment operates as a consumer cooperative, a structure that, according to its website, allows it to set goals before profits. What are the goals? The goals are tied to the profits. It's like a weird statement. Anyway, the Seattle-based company highlights the flexible schedules, so does Uber, by the way, the health services available to its hourly paid retailers. And each year it closes its approximately 170 US retail stores on Black Friday to give employees a paid day off.
So look, it's nice. It's also a little bit of theatrics, but I'm glad they do that. That's
I'm not
something.
saying it's bad, but the workers want more. And by the way, the workers are concerned about what's happened to the company's culture during the pandemic. They say that it's completely changed, and they're concerned, right? They're worried about their job safety and things like that. Those are legitimate concerns, and yeah, continue.
Yeah, and last thing on this is that, look, unions often organize at more progressive companies because it's easier, because, well, why don't you live by your creed, they say. And so, and sometimes they get frustrated because then they leave the Amazons alone to trillion-dollar companies when that would be fruitful territory, to say the least. Okay, that doesn't mean you shouldn't organize progressive companies, okay? And so in this case, when REI is a relatively progressive company compared certainly to other corporations, okay? Now, having said that, like I said, it's not a mom and pop shop, okay? So that's where I think it becomes disingenuous. Yeah, it's not a $1 trillion company like Amazon, but when you're making $2 to $3 billion in revenue per year, you're a pretty giant company, and you could certainly afford to unionize. Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR, so those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.